Welcome to the True Adagio Podcast. I have Dalmond, Pastor Dalmond. What is your other nicknames?
A bunch of different things, because I
You
do
do so many
music,
things.
production and stuff. With Pause Entertainment, I rap, write music,
Yeah.
all these different things or whatever, and a bunch of other stuff. So
Yeah. So your rap name is just Dalmond.
yeah, because I could never settle on a rap name.
Dalmond is cool though.
Yeah, exactly. And I just read it DLMND, so just kind of
Makes sense.
yeah,
Makes sense. All right. Yeah. So I wanted to interview you today about something that I find it's not necessarily a taboo topic. It happens in every church, especially I think we see it a lot with our young people. And essentially it is navigating church hurt. But before we even get into that topic, I wanted to start by asking, what started your faith journey? When did that start for you?
my faith journey. So I became a Christian when I was around 18 years old. My parents, they would go to church all the time, even backing up some more. Um, I grew up going to church in Jamaica. I'm from Jamaica, came to Cayman to live. Go to church all the time. Then we came here, still go to church all the time. Was not really a Christian. Traveling back and forth from Jamaica when I was 11 years old. And then time passed. I don't want to make it too long. So fast forward in the story, I was about 18 years old and I was going to church. And by this time, my parents, who used to go to church all the time, they fell out of the church. They stopped going to church. I mean, we're talking about my dad, who used to, preach the word in different capacities. My mom, who used to sing at church, and they just stopped going to church. And then I said to myself, you know what? Thought I was talking to God too. Lord, I'm going to try this Christian thing. And if you keep me, I want to, this is what I want. I don't want to be in Christianity and be a Christian if 10 years, 20 years down the line, I'm out of it. I want to be in it forever. So it's either that or nothing. Anyways, that's before I knew scripture that says that there's nothing that could pluck us from his hands, right? Because, once we're his, once he claims us, nothing could take us from him. I didn't know those scriptures. And so at this church, I became a Christian, repented, went to the altar, and, gave my life to the Lord. It was a very interesting moment because then I can remember seeing for myself Jesus crucified and me being at the foot of the cross and tears running from my eyes as I realized that my sin put him there. And so it was a very deep moment for me. And so that's when I became a Christian and the journey started.
That's deep. That's deep. I will say part of like what you said was in relation to you asking him basically to keep you and not knowing that the scriptures said what it said. That's something that I used to pray as well too, because I was so afraid to be like the Christians that we see who give their life to the Lord, very zealous, fall down. And I mean, in a lot of ways, I think what I didn't understand is that it's a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is for you to walk with God and to not focus on comparison with other people and stay in his word. What drove you to become a youth pastor? And also what drove you into entertainment? I know that's two different questions, but I feel like there might be some parallels.
There are definite parallels because, first off, I'll even say becoming a pastor of any kind was never really a part of my plan, so definitely we can pull and say, okay, something did drive me there. And I would say ultimately it would have to be, my love for ministry and serving the Lord and his people. When I became a Christian, I used to write a lot, and do a lot of different things. A lot of people don't know this. I'm gonna say this right here, first time on your podcast. Grace Briars. Yeah. So I used to back in high school. They used to have a lot of rap things going on. I was never part of it, but I used to run around campus being DMX, when I wasn't a Christian, and I would be like, yeah, no, like for real. She could probably tell you, right? All sorts of different things, and she would be like, she said one time I was in the corridor, and she, long story short, not trying to get into all of it, she said, you should pick up, you should do rapping.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, okay. This is, I wouldn't say me and her were like friends, but I knew her, she at least enough for her to say that to me.
Mhm.
And then I strangely enough, like right weeks after that, I became a Christian.
Wow.
Yeah. And and I used to write a lot of poetry and stuff, but instead of doing music or ending up in a more secular realm, and picking up rapping in that regard, I picked up rapping, and I started to do that in a religious vein.
Yeah.
Started to just use my craft for the Lord, and so that became a thing for me, in a sense, a bad thing before we get to where we are,
Yeah.
because with all that was happening with my family, no, telling you that they fell out of the church, part of that was they, separated. My mom and my dad separated, um, and yeah, and I had to cope in different ways, and music became that crutch for me. And even though I was writing music and doing music for the Lord, it kind of became my God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was what I coped with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, bringing it to a certain point, 2004, I was gearing up, pulled the confidence together. I'm going to release an album, and everything that I was doing crashed. Every single thing that I was doing crashed. It was on a computer, Windows,
Wow.
Windows.
Literally.
And it all just died. And I remember in that moment, the Lord saying to me, okay, Dalmond, where are you when the music stops? Am I still God when all of this is gone? When your friends are gone, when the music is gone, when your talent isn't there to be your crutch, where are you? Am I still God? Do you still see me as God on the throne? And that's when pause and intimate started. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. And that definitely spoke to me because I feel like I'm in that season now where I am just what feels like rock bottom, but it's not. It always feels like it's rock bottom, but you're really not at rock bottom. Well, not for everyone, but in my case. And I'm not doing all the things that I used to do. In my own ways, I would feel like I'm not a good Christian because I was so used to being a missionary. I was so used to going to Bible school that was a little culty. Topic for another time, guys. But I'm so accustomed to doing things a specific way and then coming to Cayman and being on fire. And like, guys, look at me. But I didn't realize that it was my way of using myself as some kind of an idol for the savior complex that I had going on for me. And God stripping that away, showing me my heart's true intent, doesn't mean that I didn't really care for people and I wasn't doing great things. It was becoming an idol for me in a way where I was using helping people to cope versus going to Christ to cope. And from that place of overflow, than actually leaning out and helping people. So that's I can relate to that for sure. Yeah. So when did the youth pastor stuff start?
So yeah, pause and Tim is going on. Me and the guys, gals, whoever we're running, doing different things, going to different youth groups, doing music and doing ministry. 2011 was when I struggled with the whole idea of going into full-time ministry. And I did this because a lot of people get confused with the whole idea of what is full-time ministry.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a Christian, to some extent, you're in full-time ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a doctor, lawyer, mechanic,
where
no matter where you are, God will use you where you are. But in a sense, I wanted to move even further into the ministerial aspect of everything. But I was caught in a very interesting place where I wanted to provide, because that's how I grew up. I grew up providing, giving. I was the breadwinner from a very early age in my family, and it was rough to say, "Oh, I'm gonna be sustained by God, and I'm gonna do ministry." You know what I mean?
Who you telling?
Yeah, and I remember it was Paul Reynolds, like his whole situation that he went through in going into ministry and doing ministry and trusting the Lord. He encouraged me through a message that he spoke as well, about, laying everything before the Lord, and trusting him, and not relying on your own strength or resources. And so went into full-time ministry in that regard in 2011. And now I'm doing tent making. So tent making is basically, I'm a mechanic, I'm a AC technician, I'm an artist, I'm a videographer, I'm a photographer, I'm a writer. Anything that I could do with the skills that the Lord has blessed me with, I was doing, to kind of like bring in funds and stuff. Along with my wife, I was married in 2009, and so moving along that spectrum, I ended up at Kim Baptist Church, where Pastor Randy saw me and was interested in me helping with a video project, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I went and I helped, and but then ended up starting to work at the church part-time, and started to give my talents and resources there. Then started to work in 2020 full-time at the church. But by the time I started working full-time at the church, Pastor Tillis had come to the church, Stephen Tillis, and in 2019 I was ordained as a pastor at the church. And then 2020 happened, and everybody know what I was, lockdown. And it was fun and not fun, because we had to do virtual videos, virtual services. And I mean, I would work for the church with the skills that I gained, from 7 in the morning till 7 the next morning. Like sometimes it's 24 hours just working,
Oh
getting
my
things done,
goodness.
sorting things out, along with other persons, like the Beverleys and the Trisha and the Jordan, and just really, really helping, and definitely with support from my family and my wife, being able to do that. And then I became youth pastor at Kim Baptist Church in 2022, 22, I think it was. And that was a trajectory. I didn't ask to become a pastor. I wasn't planning to become a pastor. They ordained me at the church in 2019, and I'm always the kind of person that's like, okay, Lord, whatever you want to do. And then I became a youth pastor, and I've been there, serving at the church as youth pastor since 2022. Not because I got up and said, you know what, one day I want to be a youth pastor. I used to say I never want to be a pastor when I was coming up.
Ooh, child.
And leaders at different churches that I've been to, they would always say, no, you're going to be a pastor. You're going to be, and I'm like, cool story, bro. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's, that's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much the
yeah. I'm laughing partially because knowing you enough, you give pastor. He gives pastor.
oh boy.
I don't know how to explain it, especially seeing how you are with young people. It almost feels as if like I don't know if there's anything else I could ever see you doing. I'm not
Yeah.
saying
No, no, no,
outside of
no.
pause.
That's good.
Pause is so important and plays such a big role with the kids and the young adults, but just seeing the way that they look at you, they admire you, and even me as a friend, or I assume I'm your friend.
The world, of course. Nah,
I don't
you
want
know
to make
what?
assumptions.
You know what? You ain't friend. You family. Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
you family.
as family,
Yeah, yeah.
looking at you and just the admiration that I have for you, how much you love the Lord, how much you love your wife, how much you love your kids, the example that you set, and the way that you love those kids, it shows. It absolutely shows. Um, so yeah, I wanted to just encourage you in that.
Thank
So
you.
it is
Thanks.
kind of funny when you say like, I never want to be a pastor, and I'm just like, but you're like kind of built for it in a way. So you and I both know that church hurt is real
Mhm,
and sadly common within the churches.
mhm.
Um, Firstly, what is church hurt? Like, let's just start there. What would you describe church hurt as?
Church hurt, easy and fast. That's the definition I think of church hurt would be basically where any individual who has been uh, to a church or even amongst Christians, because let's be realistic, the church is not the building, it's the people. And so any individual that has they've had a less than ideal relationship with a Christian individual, right? Whether it be a pastor, that makes it worse, or a close Christian friend, or just a supposed perceived Christian, period. And that less than ideal relationship or encounter would be where that person feels that they were wronged by this individual to a point where they now feel indifferent to this individual and to any individuals like this person
Mhm.
or persons, and they that can come across in different ways, such as maybe this person lied on them or gossiped about them, or infidelity, or some kind of, even something as simple as you stole my boyfriend. It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just this um unexpected behavior,
Yeah.
unbecoming behavior of the Christian person
Mm.
that this other individual, whether they're Christians or not, expected from this Christian individual.
Yeah. As a youth pastor, but also as a human being who have been in church for decades.
Yeah.
Just a couple, not a lot because you're so young.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all right with my age. Most people look. I'm 40. I'm gonna be 42 in November. Whenever this is aired, I don't know, but I'm 41 now. So
Yeah.
it is whatever. Yeah. So decades.
Yeah, so you've been in church for decades. What would your recommendation be to navigate church hurt? Because I've heard um therapists say to me from my own experiences that church hurt is one of the most difficult things to overcome when it comes to trauma because it's so intertwined
Yeah.
into your identity
Yeah.
and your faith.
Yeah.
And but the beautiful thing is that with God all things are possible.
Yeah.
And so for you, what would you say would be a good way to navigate church hurt?
First, add on there that I do agree with the therapist's diagnosis, because when you really think about it, for so many persons,
Mm-hmm.
a church mother, a church father, church brothers, and church sisters are so much closer
Yeah.
in reality than even actual mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? When a person they have moved away from what is supposedly the comfort of their own home, and they've found a home away from home, and they found a family away from family, and then that gets ripped away from them.
Yeah.
That's detrimental. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Wow.
That's painful. That can be very painful. And how do we navigate that? Right? What are some of the things that can be said to an individual where you're trying to help them navigate forgiving mom and dad,
Yeah.
forgiving brother and sister, let alone try to come to a position where now you're trying to help this individual to navigate something that they suppose is even closer.
Wow. I never thought about it like that because I too have my church hurt, and I always wondered why it affected me the way that it did. And your parents are your parents, your family is your family, and they'll always be your family. And in a lot of ways, a lot of us are blessed in a way where even though we have difficulties, we fight through them and we work through them as a family. Some of us are not as fortunate, but when it comes to church, it's a little tricky sometimes because you're not blood related, but we are brothers and sisters in Christ. So there's something there's something in that.
And you know what the deepest thing about it is?
Mm.
It's because you made a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it comes to your mother, your father, your brother, your siblings, your blood relatives, you know, deep down inside of you, you never chose that.
Mm-hmm.
But here you are, you came up in the church. You were 5 years old and now you're like 15, 25 years old. And these are the people that you chose. You know what I mean? For long and short of trying to explain all of it, you know, these are people that you chose.
Mm-hmm.
And then for this person that you chose
Mm-hmm.
to be the individual that grabs your heart,
Mm-hmm.
squeezes it, wrings it, and pulls it out of your chest, all the while looking in your face and smiling with you.
Smiling and
That's
quoting Bible verses.
yeah, that is rough,
That is rough.
you know. And the truth about navigating church hurt in that regard, it's not as cut and dry as people think. You know what I mean? It's not as black and white as people think. It is not as spiritual as people think. And it's not as, you know, straight up, oh, let's get the Bible and throw this at it as people think,
Wow.
you know? Um, the any individual who is facing trauma has to look internally first
Yeah.
and deal with them first.
Yeah.
If they're not looking at themselves and taking stock of where they are and dealing with them, and sometimes, you know, that's a very hard thing to do when you're going through trauma. You know, you can't, there's no introspection.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're there, your head is spinning all over the place, and you're wondering what in the world is going on. How how are you gonna be introspective?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The you want to crawl into a hole, and some people want to crawl in a hole and die,
Mm-hmm.
and some people want to take a torch to the world.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's one day you feel that way, and the other day you feel the next way. So what does navigating that look like?
Mm-hmm.
For each individual, it is different.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, it's to get help.
Yeah.
You understand? Do not think isolation is going to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get help. You
Yeah.
need to get around someone's that are going to take this seriously.
Yeah.
All right? And I understand that it, it's even that is a difficult thing, because if you can't do introspection
Mm-hmm.
and you don't you're trying to get help, um the truth is, let me back that up. If you can't do introspection, it's very hard for you to even think that you need help.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what you're there doing? You're there going, you're wandering through the mess and the mud and the muck, and you're wondering, um, why this is happening, why this has happened. You know, how could she, you know, how did I find myself in this position? You don't, your head is not there
Mm-hmm.
to even go get help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is where the community comes in. But jumping back to the navigation, you know, because of course somebody who's watching the video, you know, they're watching it and they're supposing that they're at the position or the point where they think that they need help.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it is to get help. You
Yeah.
need to get help from maybe I would say a Christian therapist.
Highly
Um,
recommended.
yeah, get help from a solid Christian friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it's that Christian relative that can be there for you, and understand that when I say that solid Christian friend, that Christian therapist, that Christian mom, grandma, family member, I'm not saying somebody who's gonna just come to you and quote scriptures
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know, the Lord will see you through.
Mm-hmm. You need to forgive your sister and just move on.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, forgive your sister. Moving on will come, but it takes time. Sometimes, like you said, like you need to be counseled through it. You need to unpack the layers because you don't realize how heavily impacted you are by the choices that sometimes people make within the church.
yeah,
And we often have this mindset that because we've been hurt by those in the church, it's God who's actually hurting us.
Yeah.
I and so that's where a lot of the confusion comes as well too, that this can't be Christianity. This can't be who God is. If this is who God is, then I do
Don't
not
want
want it.
anything to do it. Yep.
Yeah. And it's so important for us to, like we believe here at True Adagio, to take a step back, to just breathe. Like the word literally means to be at ease, to have that moment of self-reflection, to look around and look at yourself and say to myself, okay, what's going on? Yes, this person really hurt me, but am I going to sit and allow bitterness to take root, anger to take root, depression to take root? Or am I going to make a decision to work through this with God and figure out what forgiveness truly looks like from His Word, and also through therapy with a Christian therapist who I highly recommend, Miss April at Bethesda Counseling Services. I'll put the information up somewhere.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, having time of introspection and also getting help and having a community around you and not isolating is imperative.
Do not isolate.
Do not.
You know, isolation is the thing that comes first into our instinctive, our nature when it comes down to, you know, being hurt.
Mm,
Of course, you have the fight and flight, right?
mm,
But when someone feels crushed, humiliated, disgraced, isolation is what comes first.
mhm.
But you can't.
You can't.
You just can't. Mm,
Can't.
mm,
Isolation, what happens to I can only speak for myself, but when I'm in a state of isolation, what I've seen in others is it gives, I feel, the enemy opportunity to just keep speaking this a lot of negativity towards you. And in that time, even if you're talking to people and you're getting counsel from people and the people are not godly
mm,
people and they're agreeing with everything that you're
mhm,
saying,
mhm,
yeah, forget about them. You should
mhm.
slap them. Like they did this, they did that. Like you can't have that type of mindset because we as believers have to think differently. And I say that even for myself because I know for myself, sometimes I'm like, listen, Hans rated E for everyone. But then I have to remember vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
Amen. Yep. Yep.
And we have to trust the Lord to fight our battles for us.
Yeah.
And there'll be times when He'll say, speak up. But then there are times when we have to just kind of sit and eat it
Yeah.
and just let people say what they say.
Yeah.
But
And sometimes, you know, the church hurt happens, or a situation happen, and because we've isolated ourselves and because we've heard so much from the enemy, we're instigated
mm,
to go back into a certain situation, and more church hurt happens. You know
yes,
what I
that's
mean?
good.
And so that's to speak towards the point of like, um, yeah, don't worry about what people say,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because that's what the enemy uses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when a person says something, then you think that person said something to someone, then you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you need to
Yes.
respond, you know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's just a circular thing,
Yeah.
over and over and over, just because in those same words, you don't want to sit back, shut up, and just eat it. Leave it
Mm-hmm.
alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let the Lord fight your battles for
Yeah.
you.
And in that, work on your heart. Take that time to work on your heart because out of the heart flows the
Mm-hmm.
springs of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we spoke, me and your wife spoke about it briefly before when I had an incident recently where I went to the hospital because I felt suicidal.
Mm.
And I remember after the fact, there was a moment where once I got home and I sat with myself and I said to myself, what is it that I'm holding on to outside of my issues with my mental health? What is it that I'm holding on to that's creating this sense of agony? And I realized for the first time it was unforgiveness. I remember just repenting and repenting of the unforgiveness and the bitterness. And for those who know my story, they know some would say I have a reason to be bitter. I've been through a lot of different things. But at the same time, I don't have a reason to be bitter because I am a human being. And the people who have hurt me, who have done heinous things for me, are just as in need of Christ as I am. And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
Yeah, and that is why it always comes back to what lens are you looking through? We need to be looking through the lens of the gospel.
Yeah.
Because when we look through the lens of the gospel, we see people with the same amount of filth on them
Yeah.
as we do.
Yeah.
You know,
It's hard.
it is difficult. It is very difficult, you know, especially when you're talking about the upkeep of reputations that we try to upkeep in front of people,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
It is hard. It's challenging. But it's one of the most liberating feelings to look in the face of someone who has hurt you, who have abused you, who have done whatever it is to you, and recognize that they no longer have power over you. They no longer have control. You've surrendered the entire situation to Christ. You've asked Christ to take it like it's his.
There you go. Yep.
And you can look at that person, and sometimes it takes a while.
Hmm.
I won't say it's immediate where you're like, "Oh, okay." But you look at them and you're like, "Okay, you don't hold that power over me anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have control over me. God is much greater. This is a small thing in the hand of God."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it, and a great point to pull from, right? Forgiveness,
Mhm.
because forgiveness isn't necessarily a situation where it involves two individuals, where one goes to the other and says, "I forgive you."
Mhm.
Forgiveness happens deep within your own heart. Have you forgiven that person? Reconciliation needs to happen with both individuals,
Mhm.
right? The even with when it comes down to God, we're reconciled to God
Mhm.
through Jesus Christ, and it took a lot for that reconciliation to happen.
Mhm.
Uh, so when we deal with that forgiveness within our own hearts, we have relinquished and dust off and throw off the power that anybody has over us,
Mhm.
regardless of if they've ever heard that we've forgiven them. You know, and I think more people who they've gone through so much, they need to understand that you don't need to muster up strength for forgiveness to go on the mountaintops and shout it. You so and so, I forgive you. No, that it's not a show.
Mm-mm.
It's an internal thing.
You don't even need to write the letters.
No.
I love therapy, and I think writing letters are great. But you don't need to write the letters and be like, "Listen, when you did this to me when I
Mm-mm.
was 7 years old and I did not like this," and you don't have to. You can really just come to God, just empty your
Mm-hmm.
hands of this pain and this unforgiveness and this transgression against you, and he will take it.
Yeah. Holding nothing against your brother.
Yeah.
As much as it depends on you, live at peace.
Yeah.
This is all scripture. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So it starts with forgiveness.
Yeah.
Trauma happens. Don't isolate. Seek counsel. Seek good counsel, friends, family, therapist. Um, find yourself in a position where you start to do more introspection than wallowing in the mess and muck of the situation,
Mhm.
and find yourself in a position after that introspection where you relinquish the power that anybody has over you by forgiving them. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. That's good. Honestly, I had more questions, but I feel like that this is a good place to stop. And I want us to do another day, a second podcast on the process of forgiveness
Okay.
and what that can look like.
Hmm.
Because I feel like this is such a dense topic
Yeah.
and it could go so much deeper. And I love having a conversation with you because the way that you unpack it has been really helpful and helped me. I know for myself to look at things and even recognize that I know I not only need to forgive others, but I need to forgive myself for things that have happened. And the I may have said to myself, "Oh, I forgive myself," but that reconciliation hasn't happened. And I'm gonna be taking this to God and getting into therapy well, I'm in therapy, but speaking to my therapist about it, about how what that process can look like and how I can actually reconcile with myself in that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when we experience these traumas, we blame ourselves versus jumping and saying, "Oh, they did all these horrible things." That's we're like, well, we're stupid or we're crazy because we were the ones who put ourselves in the situation.
Yeah. You start to gaslight yourself, and,
Yeah.
all the different things that has happened, you start to point it back at you,
Hmm.
and put yourself in a very tough situation.
Yeah.
And that's where depression and, anxiety and all these things
Yeah.
different can come on,
I agree.
you
It's
know?
the story of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's something liberating that comes when you are able to fully forgive and make reconciliation with yourself and with others, whether when it comes to others, whether that's actual reconciliation where you can gain a brother again, or it's reconciliation from a standpoint of I have come to peace with the fact that we may never have a relationship, but I
Right.
love them
Yeah.
and I want the best for them.
Right.
I may not like the way that they're treating me, but I can't give them that access to me
Right.
in that way.
Right.
I forgive you. I want the best for you, but this is as much as we can do for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to just stop being so Christian, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, because,
I know exactly what you
yeah, I
mean.
mean,
Oh, brother is so
yeah,
cool.
come on, people. We're dealing with a world of personalities
Yes.
and attitudes and, all sorts of different things. And the truth is, sometimes it is better off for us to just find ourselves in a position where, yes, that person just won't have that access to me. And you're not being evil
No.
for coming to that conclusion. You've just realized that it is not the best for both of you.
Yeah.
One, he is sinning against you, or she is sinning against you and causing that trauma.
Mhm.
And two, you are the object of their sin and causing them to be sinners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you know what? Let's separate this right here and go our ways, and may the Lord bless you and keep you, and in certain situations deal with you ever so severely where necessary.
Please.
But you won't have that access to me,
Mm,
and that's okay.
that is a beautiful thing for both of us.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I didn't learn that until recently. I think you and I had a conversation about it where there was a person who was like a leader to me trying to come back into my life after some culty behavior that they exhibited previously. And I remember just talking about it, and it was so reassuring to be like, oh yeah, I don't have to have this relationship with them. Like I've been told in the beginning of my faith, which I think was such an issue for me when it came to my belief, is that you have to just keep forgiving the people. And forgiveness means they continually have access to you. And not forgiving someone means releasing them and wanting the best for them, letting it go, but choosing to, I don't know if this is the right context, but it's like choosing to not throw your pearls to pigs.
Yeah. You could use that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's taking the better parts of you
Mhm.
and leaving it for anything and anyone to have access to, and that's totally fine. You're like, don't throw your pearls to swines.
Yeah.
Not, and I know you're trying to be careful there because you're
Yeah.
trying not to call the other person
Yeah.
swine or pig.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the argument and the conversation, we'll use that for the sake of the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's good. That's really good. It's been really helpful having this conversation. You're so cool.
I'm cool.
Guys,
Yeah.
he's so cool.
Oh,
You
boy.
don't know. But I'm really grateful for you. And yeah, welcome to True Adagio, guys.
All right. Cool.
And if you know that the Lord got your back.
Oh, yeah. Shut up, Badahanda. Oh,
Oh
boy.
my goodness.